We're going to probe 5 questions sent in by single people, and what are the thoughts? What's the way to deal with it? And that's the story. By the way, just to put it out there, if you have any questions on dating and Shalom Bayit, or you need help in creating a top 10 needs list, which is a critical component that I require in successful dating, or you'd like to get better at asking questions, I do have a PDF called the PDF of 100 most important questions to be asked in a dating relationship. All you have to do is WhatsApp me at 305-206-1916 for that. Or if you'd like a dating consultation, or in the middle of a relationship, I'm getting, thank God, quite a few of those recently, people in dating relationships and not just sure what to do. So it's important. You can farm out that, you can export that work to my shoulders, and I'll be happy to take on that responsibility, thank God. With the help of heaven, we've been very successful in directing thousands of couples, and we can help you as well. Again, 305-206-1916, or email me either at my website, which is a great website full of wonderful information, videos, articles, a lot of great relevant information at drjackdating.com, or you can reach me on the website, or you can reach me on my private email, drjackcohen18@gmail.com. Okay, here we go. A woman writes, several months ago, a guy contacted me through an online dating app. We exchanged a few emails and then phone numbers and got to know each other a bit. I felt like we were both marriage-minded, which is good, on the same track, although I guess I did not find out enough specifics about his life. A few weeks after we initially made contact, he came to my city because she's an out-of-towner. New York is considered the epicenter of the world, and everyone else is out-of-towner. And he came to my city for a long weekend. We had a great time, some great dates, and he seemed to be everything I was looking for in a potential husband. He was charming, he was intelligent, he was attractive, he was ambitious, all the wonderful qualities you would want in a husband. And he had a strong Jewish background, everything that I felt I needed in a great life partner. At the end of the weekend, he promised we would see each other soon. The visit was followed by more phone calls, which became, unfortunately, less and less frequent, and a few weekends during which he suggested visiting, but never due to various reasons. Strangely enough, at one point he even asked if I would consider marrying him, and I said yes. He phoned me just before he took an extended vacation last month to let me know that he wouldn't be stopping in my city on the way back. I haven't heard from him since he returned. In the meantime, I met a great guy in my own city who I've gone on several dates with and who I like more each time I see him. So the question is this: do you think I should just forget about the online guy and focus on the local, available, and interested man? Do you think I need to get some sense of closure with the online guy? Or should I just presume that the message he left, letting me know that he wouldn't be stopping in my city, was his way of telling me that he's no longer interested and we won't see each other again? I like the local guy, but I can't stop thinking about this guy from the app, the online guy. And that's a problem. And I don't know what to do. I don't understand what's the story? Why would he have discussed marriage with me and just, shaking me up and giving me such confusion? Here's the answer. Your instincts seem correct. The online guy doesn't appear to be interested in moving anything forward. I think that you handled the online correspondence in a very good way. It's always good to meet relatively soon after starting a correspondence. It's not a good idea to video for many, many sessions and to talk on the phone for weeks and months on end. This way, the mental images you've had of each other are quickly replaced by real-life observations. How often have we seen people, couples, especially in my sense, especially during COVID, when they had online or rather visual video dates, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10, and then once they met, within 1 or 2 visits, it basically evaporated. Also, some of us hit it off very well online, but something is lost in the transition when it goes face-to-face. You've got to try to get the face-to-face as quickly as possible. It's better to clarify whether a face-to-face meeting is to be the first of many dates, or whether one of you feels the potential isn't really as good as the reality is. The online guy may have felt this way after your weekend of dating. Maybe he felt great about you. He may have decided not to continue for any number of dozen of reasons. Maybe he's indecisive. Or maybe he's concerned that you live too far away from him. His last phone call seems to be a subtle way of telling us that he's saying goodbye. He's checking out of the relationship. You ask why he brought up marriage, but why he never fell through. Why he never followed through. This may have been something he said on impulse. Maybe just because he said, oh, would you marry me? Or perhaps it was just an idea he was exploring. Remember, he asked if you would consider marrying him, which is a gulf and a mile away from an actual proposition to marriage. It seems that you have a good thing going with the man you're seeing now. you should continue to enjoy his company and see where that takes you and if that develops into something serious. In order to do that successfully, you need to get closure on this online guy. It would be easy for you to do this if the online guy would have just said goodbye, but he didn't. But since he didn't have the courage to say goodbye, you just have to accept what he said at face value and just move on and don't let it bother you anymore. Don't look back. Instead, move forward and count your blessings for having met a great local guy who you like to see more and more on every subsequent date. Hopefully, it leads to a great relationship that will hopefully get to engagement and marriage. So that's question number one. Our next case involves blind dates. A guy writing about blind dates. How should conduct a blind date? And he writes, my concerns and my questions involve blind dates. Is it incumbent on a man meeting a woman for the first time, not knowing what she looks like, and not knowing what the woman will think of him, to take the woman to a restaurant on the first meeting? He writes, I've met women on the internet and through ads who seem to believe that it's a requirement that the man take a woman to a restaurant even before they've laid eyes on each other. Is that the proper etiquette? If I meet a woman, he writes, over the internet and speak to her on the phone, would it be improper on my part if we just met over coffee and cake or pizza and soda on the first occasion? Why should I spend so much money on a blind date if I find no chemistry with her or if she finds none with me? Why should we do that? And if a woman suggests a restaurant for the first encounter, would it be right for me to suggest something less expensive without sounding like I'm not a gentleman? We've heard stories of women who meet men for the first time and know they don't like them, but take him for whatever they can on a date and then say, sorry, I'm not interested. So he'd like to have some advice on the issue. Well, I think that dinner in a restaurant is not one of the best settings for a blind date, although many people seem to think that etiquette demands it. And the reason is practical, as well as economical. First of all, a blind date should be treated as an opportunity to learn about the other person, to decide if there's enough in common between both of you to go on to a second date. Trying not to talk with your mouth full and praying that you don't spill something or get lettuce stuck between your teeth is not the most conducive atmosphere for conversation. Meaning that if you're having dinner, how can you possibly get to know someone? Because now you're trying to leverage and manage eating at the same time as asking questions and not looking sloppy. Moreover, it's unfair to expect a man to spend a large amount of money on dinner when a blind date may not lead to a second date. I found that the best blind date is one that's not centered around a meal at all. Consider adopting the approach that many daters like to use. Go to a place with some visual or audio atmosphere, like a botanical garden, a hotel lounge, art gallery, promenade, any other place to walk, for example, the seaside, the seashore, a boardwalk, or even an informal open-air concert. This gives you an opportunity to talk. After all, you're on a treasure hunt on date number one. You're trying to determine if the person that's with you has what in common with you. Do you share common values, common goals? Is there what to talk about that we can go forward? And provide something to look at, and even refer to, places instead of having, the pressure of being on a dinner or a lunch. During the date, the couple can enjoy light refreshments, for example, a drink or a dessert if you go to one of the open air things that we've spoken about, or a place to walk. These activities fill about 3 hours, which is a good time frame for a first date. I often get that question asked. I just got that question from a client of mine going on a first date tomorrow in Yerushalayim. She asked me, she's going to a lounge. I said, 3 hours is about enough. She asked me how long it should take. This type of first date is usually less expensive than going out to a formal dinner or a meal, but shouldn't be viewed as a cheap alternative. There may be an admission fee to a park or a museum. The snack or dessert should be enjoyed at a pleasant, attractive cafe, and the man should escort the girl home in his car or cab, if at all possible. Of course, a man should let a woman know these plans in advance, so the woman doesn't skip dinner in expectation of a large meal. That's thoughtful and that's considerate. It's a sad fact that so many men and women have become jaded by unpleasant blind dates. So now they either go on these dates with the attitude that it's never going to work out, or have expectations that it's impossibly high to meet. I can go a step further and suggest an approach that will make blind dates more enjoyable, or at least more bearable. Instead of worrying about how your date will turn out, just relax and try and enjoy the surroundings, the activity that you're engaged in, and your date's company. Don't imagine, can I be married to this person? Or how about the way they look? These thoughts will prevent you from learning more about them. Don't project too much into the future. Stay in the present and stay in the moment. Try engaging in what we call airplane talk. in which you just get to know someone like if you're on an airplane. You're not going to talk too much about your personal life. You're not going to reveal too much of yourself, but enough to get the thing going. You'll play Jewish geography. You'll talk about some observation, share a story, maybe people that you know in common, what you do for a living, what your interests are, things like that. I also suggest going forward with the second date if the meeting was only lukewarm. Remember, first dates can sometimes be very awkward, right? Uncomfortable experiences sometimes. And as much as both people try to be at their best, sometimes and often they fall short of that goal. Since neither the man nor the woman can really be themselves, we recommend that even if the first date is simply passable, a couple go out on a second time. Many couples that went on to shidduchim that led to marriages, and I can tell you, I can attest to this, started with a rocky start. So it's not always that it goes smooth all the way. Many people also find that even though they didn't feel an instant connection on the first date, it starts to change. Physical attraction can grow. As you get to know the person more and you ask better and better questions, it starts to deepen and you start to see an awareness and an attraction and a connection that wasn't there in previous dates. Forget about the word click. Well, I don't like that word because it brings to mind an image of an instantaneous awareness. Aha, he's the one. Aha, she's the one. That's not what we're looking for. For most couples, the awareness that they share something special is more gradual, and that takes time. It builds on itself. That will come as the couple becomes more emotionally intimate, and emotionally intimacy takes time to build, anywhere between 8 to 12 days. But however, don't keep dating someone just because there's nothing negative that I see in him. At this point, you should see positive qualities in the man you're with. Just to say, oh, he's okay, but there's nothing extraordinary that you admire about him is a problem. Or her. You need to admire something in each other. You need to enjoy each other's company. You need to find yourself attracted to certain elements of their appearance. If you don't see that happening, don't date that person. You're not going to suddenly develop feelings for a person, and it's better that each of you look for someone else. And as well as physical attraction. There's no question that physical attraction plays a critical role. It's the greatest bracha that Hashem gave us. In order to get people to start going out and get married, He created the concept of physical attraction. But like I always tell my clients, physical attraction is the lobby to the building. It just gets you into the lobby. Now it's your turn to traverse the higher floors, which is looking for the qualities of character and looking at their midos and checking out their compassion, their goodness, their kindness, their generosity, looking for things like red flags, cheap, not stable, emotional disorders, things like that. However, unless a person is really turned off by the way the other person looks, they should give the physical element also a chance to develop. And that's important. And I hope that helps you. Next, someone writes an article about, a letter about going out with someone who's a cheapo. We've been dating him in for about 5 months. He's 35, he comes from a good family, is a professional employed with a good company, and we have similar interests and a similar lifestyle. So what, you may ask, is going wrong? Well, we're confused about his actions, she says. Whenever we go out to dinner, ice cream, we always go Dutch. Dutch is that word for we split the bill. He has only offered to pay for me on our first date on our birthday. I wasn't given a gift card or a card. I paid for him on numerous occasions. And I've observed, she writes, that he is extremely frugal. I've mentioned to him that I'm still into chivalry where the man takes care of the woman and pays the bill. I've gone as far as saying that it would be a kind gesture for him to buy me a rose, a drink, or offer to treat me to dinner once in a while. He agrees, but he never does it. Am I expecting too much and complaining for no reason? Is this behavior an indication of something deeper about someone who really has a problem with money? What's your thoughts? And here we go. So you and this guy need an honest, to the point discussion. Mentioning that you're into chivalry or would like an occasional kind gesture is not straightforward enough. You have to let the guy know that there's something important you want to discuss. Suggest that you find an appropriate time and place and get to the point. Tell him that while you enjoy dating him, the two of you have very different perspectives on who should pay for the dates, and you're upset and puzzled about the situation. Because you should tell him you're used to having a man pay for your dates, and you don't understand why he always goes Dutch, which is to share and split the bill, or is not willing to reciprocate even when you treat him. If you don't mind paying your way sometimes, but also wanting to treat you, tell him outright. You have to be clear and decisive in your communication. It could be that this guy really thinks the fairest way to date is for everyone to pay their own way and only treat each other on special occasions. Or it could be that his family never gave birthday gifts or cards, and he doesn't think they're important. Or it could be he doesn't feel comfortable giving a present. Or it could be that he has financial problems you don't know about. Or he could be very frugal when it comes to some things, and maybe he's generous when it comes to other things, or he's just plain cheap. Whatever the case, you need to know his point of view, and dancing around the problem won't help you. You got to go directly at the problem. This will help you determine how much of his behavior is preview of coming attractions versus how much he may be willing to change after he hears your point of view and is willing to change. It's very common for a man and a woman who are dating seriously to have different economic styles, and these can become a source of tremendous marital conflict if we don't work it out beforehand. As I always tell my clients, whatever's bothering you in the relationship should be discussed with the other person, otherwise you're asking for trouble. To think that you're going to telescope a problem into the future is asking for problems. As they say, if you don't fix the problem now and think it's going to go away in marriage, the reality is it just gets worse. So it's important for you to understand each other's perspectives at this point and see how willing and able each of you is able to address them in a way that's comfortable for both of you. You can also get a little more insight into his character by observing how he interacts with other people when you're on a date. For example, how does he treat the waiters? Does he tip the taxi drivers? How does he provide the service providers? How does he deal with them? Is he nice to them, or does he look at them with disdain? Is he penny wise and pound foolish? Does he give tzedakah? Does he talk about things that he does in terms of charities? Is he generous in other ways that are not financial? Is he generous with his time? Does he give compliments? All that are in critical details and critical tips that can help you let you know what he's truly like. Next, I want to talk about what it's like for a 45-year-old single Jewish man on the dating scene. I've never been married, but I was semi-engaged for several years. I find that women under 40 aren't interested in men my age of 45, because men over 40 who've never been married are considered to be weird. I've also found that women in their 40s are either unbelievably picky or maybe not Jewish. I'm not considering women my own age because I want to get married and have children. So he's a 45-year-old man, and he's obviously looking for someone maybe 35, 36, 37, with the hope that he can have a few children. I'm in excellent health and physical shape. I'm well educated, fairly wealthy, reasonably good looking, interested, great with children, and my family is well regarded. On dates, I'm generous. So why can't I find a nice young woman who's younger than me, who's willing to go out with me and marry me? Donnie, you've identified a general problem that affects single men and women in their 40s and onward. The fact is that singles in this age bracket have more complicated lives than younger people, and it's definitely harder for them to be realistic about the qualities they should be looking for, to open up to someone else, and to overcome accumulated emotional baggage. But don't despair. There are many 40-ish couples who meet and are happily married. Realistically, it isn't easy for these people. They started out like most unmarried men and women in their late 30s and 40s, personable, well-liked by friends, doing well at work, and feeling that most aspects of their lives are great except for the fact that they're single. For some reason, they missed the mark when it comes to dating, and neither they nor many of their friends were able to understand it. They were too close to the situation to identify what was keeping them from dating. We've come to understand that every unmarried man and woman in their mid-30s and onward is held back by some sort of barrier, some obstacle. And if they got married, they were able to recently break through the obstacle. It's not a criticism. It's not an attempt to blame singles for their situation. It's simply a fact of life. If you're mid-30s and older, there's some barrier that's blocking you, some obstacle that's getting in the way of allowing you to date successfully and get married. I hope that you and every other single would like to marry in the near future. Try to find out what's hindering your success, since that's critical, which means you got to pay a visit to a dating coach. Virtually every single in this age bracket is held back by something, and the barriers are as different as the individuals who face them. Those people who have gotten married didn't see their barrier dissolve overnight. The women don't just wake up one morning and find dating success, and the right person doesn't magically waltz into their life. Yet each of them managed to move beyond their personal impediment. How? In every case, someone came into their life, a professional, a book, perhaps a dating book, most importantly, a therapist or a dating coach that helped them work through that obstacle. So they were able to remove the obstacle and get the obstacle out of the way, and they were able then, no more impediment, they were able to march forward and date successfully. One of the barriers that people face is the difficulty of finding suitable dating candidates. You've mentioned your own problem with the pool of available women in your area, and that's something that's quite common. You hear that a lot. In truth, there's a big population of Jewish women in their 30s and 40s who truly want to get married. You're in a much more enviable position than they are, because there are many more marriage-minded women in this age bracket than marriage-minded men. You are right that many of these women are still bogged down behind barriers such as unrealistic expectations, but there's plenty of great women who have worked out their issues and that are ready to get married. I understand why age is an important factor for you. You'd like to become a parent in the near future, but there's no guarantees in this age group, not at all. There are many wonderful people, wonderful couples out there that don't have children that are also happy with life. And you have to understand that. And that's not the last barrier. But the most important thing is not to spend your life alone. You want to get out there and meet someone. If having children is in the cards, that's fine. But there are many people in the 30s that don't have children either. So there's no guarantee that we'll have kids, although we hope that Be'ezrat Hashem, everyone will have children. But it's not the reason to hold yourself back from happiness and getting married. Last letter I want to talk to you about is someone who's a woman who's 40 years old, and she complains that she only gets set up with divorced men that have children. I'm a successful, attractive 40-year-old woman. My problem is that I always seem to find men who are divorced with children. They usually have joint custody with the ex-wife and have their kids every other weekend and a day during the week. My biggest concern is, how will I ever be number one in a man's life, and is that even an option? I'm currently dating a man who's 44 and has 2 boys. He drives his boys to sports practice every Sunday, and this tends to dominate his time. This goes on all year long, and he isn't able to push everything else aside for me. I feel like I don't have a lot of baggage. All the men I find seem to see me like Mr. Mom. So what should I do? So the answer, everyone has baggage, and the older we get, the more baggage we accumulate. The trick is to learn how to consolidate the baggage so it doesn't weigh you down when traveling through the dating scene. I spot one item that may be weighing you down in your dating. It's the fact that you're focused primarily on yourself. It's not a criticism. It's just that most adults who've never been married before haven't acquired the skill of balancing their own interests with the needs of a life partner and family. Instead of being in a relationship in which the partners view their marriage as the center of their lives and give each other emotional and tangible support and minimize their own needs in order to help their spouse or strengthen their marriage, single people are totally responsible for their own welfare, responsible for their health, and responsible for their happiness. So as a result, it's only natural for single people like you to feel like they need to be number one all the time because that's all they're used to. However, in a successful relationship, nobody can be number one all the time. One of the reasons why older singles have so much difficulty taking the steps that lead to marriage is because they insist on priority. And it's hard to visualize how someone they're interested in can ever balance his own needs and obligations with theirs. But it can be done. Yes, it can be done. However, as an older single, it'll be a little harder for you to make the changes in your established priorities because you're used to life revolving around you. People who marry at a younger age don't have to worry about this and don't have such a hard time with the adjustment, since younger people begin to develop a married person's perspective early on in adult life. What is a married person's perspective? Stress the importance of putting the marriage first, before everything else, including your career and children. It doesn't mean pushing the kids off to the background and ignoring their needs or never staying late in the office. It means making time for each other every day with a phone call to say hi, a text to say hi, perhaps some quiet time together at the end of the day. It means setting aside a few hours each week to go out on a date and not discuss issues like bills, child discipline, in-laws. I heard I saw a great video the other day called the 777 rule, and that was fantastic. Let's see how it goes. Every day find 7 minutes to spend with each other, quality time, a mini date, right? Every 7 days, go out on a regular, nice date, and every 7 weeks, go out on a get together, say 24 hours, and every 7 months, go for a vacation, 3 or 4 months. It's the 7-7-7-7 rule. It means something setting aside your own wishes so your spouse's needs are also met. It means complimenting each other, appreciating each other, and listening to what your spouse says makes him happy or her happy. And doing it even though you can't imagine why doing something like that will be helpful. But it is. It means choosing the job that offers maybe a little less pay and a little less prestigious, but keeps you at home so you have more time to spend. Instead of working 55 hours, you're only doing 40. It also means that you marry someone who may have children, whether they are young or grown. You understand the importance those children play in his or her life, and work together to balance to need to spend time with the kids and give them emotional as well as financial support. And that's the key. So that you can marry someone with kids And you don't have to worry about being number one, but if you come into their life and integrate your needs with their needs and give everything the proper amount of attention, it could work out. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. Let me wish you a Shabbat Shalom. Look forward to seeing you next week again, Wednesday night at 9 o'clock. We'll have Rabbi Bernath as our guest, and he'll talk to us about all the wonderful things that he's been busy with in dating. Shabbat Shalom. If you have any questions on dating, need my help in any relationship, need a copy of the PDF of 100 questions, reach out to me, please, at my cell phone on WhatsApp, preferably 305-206-1916, or go to my website, drjackdating.com, and then write me an email. Have a wonderful day again, and thank you.